So if you were to bring the black share of wealth at least to the black share of the population, it would require an additional at least $10 trillion.
But if we were paid those unskilled wages at a 6% interest rate, we would have $6.2 quadrillion that we would be owed today.
Reparations is a game. The story have black folks come and talk about what kind of hell they live and have people have to listen. Reparations will set us free.
5/24/22 in the news. New biography captures George Floyd's life. This was released on 5/20/22 PBS podcast. On our Washington Week Extra, we explore a breakout biography on George Floyd's life titled His Name is George Floyd. One man's life and struggle for racial justice. Washington Post reporters Robert Samuels and Toulouse Olonanipa, who co-authored the book, join Yamiche Alcindor to discuss. And we do have the link to the podcast that should be in the description here. But there was also an accompanying tweet announcing the release of this book from a Twitter user named Black Jesus Calm. New investigation reveals that George Floyd's great-great-grandfather was one of the wealthiest men in South Carolina at one point, owning over 500 acres of land until the white supremacy system stole it from him. So those kind of gems are being dropped in this new biography on George Floyd. And, some of the discussion around that has been, no telling what this man's life would have been like if his family would have been able to maintain their wealth and pass it down generationally. So, definitely listen to the podcast. Link will be in the description. Give some really good information about George Floyd and his life, more than what we just saw circulating in the media at the time of his death.
And I believe tomorrow, May 25th, 2022, is actually the anniversary of his unfortunate demise from this planet. So, tomorrow it is. So, Ashe to George Floyd.
Yes, Ashe. It is May 25th. I remember. And 5 days later, I was out of a job. They didn't even want to deal with black people no more. But I digress.
After Buffalo, civil rights leaders pitch anti-hate plans. The nation's oldest civil rights organization said it will propose a sweeping plan meant to protect black Americans from white supremacist violence in response to a hate-fueled massacre that killed 10 black people in Buffalo, New York last weekend. In a plan first shared with the Associated Press, the NAACP suggests a policy approach to stopping future acts of anti-black domestic terrorism that involves law enforcement, business regulation, and gun control. The proposal points to measures that could be taken up immediately by the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. Specifically, the plan calls for holding accountable any corporation that is complicit in the spread of bigotry and racism through news media and on social platforms, for enacting gun violence prevention measures that keep mass casualty weapons out of the hands of would-be assailants, and for reforming police practices so black Americans experience the same de-escalation tactics often used to peacefully apprehend murderous white supremacists. Saturday's premeditated attack by an avowed racist on black shoppers at the Tops Friendly Market in Buffalo made it clear that, quote, democracy and white supremacy cannot coexist, end quote. NAACP President and CEO Derek Johnson said.
So it looked like that article came out on May 19th. So maybe Biden got the call. Let's see. Biden to sign executive order on police reform on Floyd anniversary. A source familiar with the anticipated order told the Griot that Biden's an alliterated move is in an effort to be responsive after Congress failed to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. President Joe Biden will mark the anniversary of George Floyd's death by signing an executive order on Wednesday to establish new rules for use of force by federal law enforcement officers, the Griot has learned. The presidential action is an attempt to fulfill a campaign promise in 2020 to reform policing on a national level, create accountability, and protect civil rights. On the first anniversary of George Floyd's murder, President Biden invited the Floyd family to the White House in hopes that he would have a bill passed by Congress to sign into law. A major sticking point was Republicans opposing to amending the legal provision known as qualified immunity that allows for a high threshold of legal accountability when an officer uses excessive or deadly force. Also accompanying this article on Twitter again by a user named Bishop Talbert Swan, hashtag Peyton Gendron murdered 10 Black people on May 13th. His white supremacist manifesto contained anti-Jewish conspiracy theories. A House resolution condemning anti-Semitism was filed on May 17th. It passed 420 to 1 on May 18th, 4 days after 10 Black people were murdered. So it looks like they rushed the anti-Semitism bill in right away due to the contents of the manifesto.
Wow. Nipsey Hussle's alleged killer to begin murder trial next month. We have been looking forward to the day that we could present evidence in court on this case, Deputy DA John McKinney tells Rolling Stone. More than 3 years after celebrated rapper Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in the parking lot of his Marathon clothing store in a shocking daylight ambush, his alleged killer is due to begin his murder trial in a matter of weeks. Suspected shooter Eric Holder, 32, appeared in a Los Angeles courtroom Thursday as his public defender announced he's ready to face a jury in the long-delayed case. When the prosecutor announced he was ready as well, Judge H. Clay Jack ordered both sides back to court on June 2nd to begin jury selection. Once a panel is seated, testimony in the high-profile case is expected to last 2 weeks. We've been looking forward to the day that we could present evidence in court on this case, but for the COVID emergency, this case would have been tried quite some time ago, Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney John McKinney tells Rolling Stone. Prosecutors claim Holder fired at least 10 rounds into Nipsey Hussle from a black semi-automatic handgun in one hand and a smaller silver revolver in the other, killing the 33-year-old posthumous Grammy winner outside his apparel store in the heart of South Los Angeles on March 31st, 2019. Man, this is nuts. I'll shade to Nipsey Hussle.
Rest in power, and hopefully he'll finally get some justice. Ukraine war could lead to food shortages in Africa, migration problems, say Polish president. Warsaw, May 24th, Reuters. If the war in Ukraine causes food shortages in North Africa, this will in turn lead to mass migration to Europe, Poland's president said on Tuesday. If it turns out that there is hunger in North Africa, both Spain and the whole of Southern Europe will have a huge migration problem. Andres Duda told panel in Davos. Today, we should focus on Ukraine being able to export its grain. So they'd rather send them food than have them come to their neck of the woods. Not in my backyard.
Yeah,
NIMBY.
stay yourself over there.
We got some brains for y'all. Brains is on the way.
Man, it's crazy. We'll go to the next one. But it's crazy because, like, I mean, when you think about it, like, from my understanding, if Africa had its stuff together, the majority of Africa, like, they could have their own agriculture. Like, I don't understand why they would need to import anything. I mean, they have everything there.
Fish, or give them the ability. Well, they're sending grains, so is that just to make the food, or is that to grow the food? I don't know, but you're right. Self-sufficiency is definitely the way to go, especially in this draconian society.
Yeah, I mean, Africa, if I recall, I think we may have said it or done it on this show, but it can fit up to like 6 or 7 like countries, which would include the United States, let me see, Canada. So basically like most of North America, India, like most of Europe. Like, it's huge. It's ginormous. So anyway,
I mean,
is it?
Yeah, it's a whole nother show. But I mean, is it the land that's not producing? Do we know what the problem is, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, it's like you have the land there and you could produce things, but it's just a matter of like just trying to be organized enough to do it. You have to have
probably need the infrastructure, the irrigation infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, they got all the minerals there, and the material, and they got the human labor force to do it. It's just like, get your stuff together, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You got billions of black people over there that could work on this stuff, and you're having to rely on like outside resources. And I mean, let's face it, I mean, we're talking about the diaspora, and having African Americans either go back there, and not just African Americans, black descendants, but like people on the Western Hemisphere. But it's like, bro, I mean, would love to come over there, but like the infrastructure stuff, family, like, what's going on? So,
yeah, it sounds like it's time to get things growing over there in Africa.
So, all right, so you did the last article. Yeah, okay, so I guess it's my turn. All right, Dave Chappelle's accused attacker speaks out about the incident. Dave Chappelle's accused attacker claims he was, quote, triggered, end quote, by the comedian's jokes, but had no intention of harming him. Isaiah Lee told the New York Post in an interview conducted Saturday at Twin Towers Correctional Facility in Los Angeles that Chappelle's comments about the LGBT community and homelessness set him off during the May 3rd show at the Hollywood Bowl. He said the comedian should have been more sensitive, in quotes. I identify as bisexual, and I wanted him to know what he said was triggering, said the 23-year-old, who has been in prison since his arrest. I wanted him to know that next time he should consider first running his material by people it could affect. Lee, who attacked Chappelle, 48, on stage while armed with a replica gun that can eject a knife blade, said he was hoping to have a good time at the historic show, which was part of the Netflix Is a Joke festival. However, he said he became upset when Chappelle's joke about his past controversies with the LGBTQ community, as well as about homelessness. Earlier in the night, a different comedian's joke about pedophilia upset him too. Lee, a single father with a 5-year-old son, explained that he was experiencing homelessness at the time of the show. He had previously been molested when he was 17 and living under the protection of Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services, he claimed. Lee pleaded not guilty to misdemeanor charges of battery, possessing a deadly weapon with intent to assault, and 2 counts related to interfering with a public event. He has remained jailed since the attack. What I want to know is, and we'll move on to the next one. What I want to know is if he's homeless, like, how can he afford a ticket? I mean, that's just kind of a question that I have. Like, somebody paid for him, or so anyway.
No, I mean, that's actually a very good question, because those tickets, I'm sure, were pretty pricey, and firsthand reports of people who attended, not this particular show, but other shows, said that the security was just on lock, so they don't even know how he got in with the replica gun. So it does seem like, something's going on. Yeah. All right. In other news, speaking of guns, over 130 guns received at Sacramento's police Gas for Guns buyback event. I believe we told you about that last week when it was upcoming, and it did happen over the weekend. And let's see what the results were. Sacramento, California. The Sacramento Police Department said 134 firearms were received at Saturday's Gas for Guns buyback, a program aimed at getting firearms off the streets. Over 100 members of the community exchanged their guns for a $50 gas gift card per firearm. People who turned in their guns were not required to give their identities to the police. The program required people to arrive at an area police station with the firearm unloaded and in the trunk. Among the guns received were at least 1 assault rifle, numerous components for ghost guns, and multiple illegally configured firearms, police said in a statement on Sunday. The event, which took place at the police station on Freeport Boulevard, was meant to last from noon until 5 p.m. But due to overwhelming response, gift cards ran out about 45 minutes after it started, according to a tweet from the department.
Wow, so there are that many guns, and it looks like, according to this article, there's a lot of illegally configured firearms on top of it, and they also ran out of gift cards.
Right. And I don't know that it's in this. It might be in the full report if you want to go pull it up. I pulled this off of Newsweek. But they said the event ended an hour early. But what I'm reading here is the event was meant to take place from noon to 5. They ran out of gift cards in 45 minutes. So when did that mean that the event ended at 12:45? Not an hour earlier than 5 p.m. I don't know. Just a lot of holes in the story, but this is what the SAC PD says what happened.
White mom complains her black son has been changed by critical race theory. The white mother from Virginia has said she plans to sue her black son's school in Virginia, claiming he had been influenced by classes on critical race theory and was now having racial issues. Fox News' Jesse Waiters spoke to the mother, Melissa Riley, during the show on Monday night. Waiters asked how being taught about critical race theory at the Henley Middle School in Crozet, Virginia, had influenced Riley's son and how it had shifted their relationship. Riley, who told the Fox News host that her son's father is black and she is white, said that her son was now having issues with race. Quote, "We didn't have any issues before. He is in 8th grade. They introduced this critical program and now he is having racial issues," she said. "He's seeing himself just as a black man. He is seeing things that don't go his way as racism. He's finding safety in numbers." Critical race theory is an educational issue that has divided conservatives and liberals, as it teaches that racism does not come just from individuals, but also that a country's legal and other systems are inherently racist.
I mean, safety in numbers. It sounds like we all got a lawsuit pending.
I mean, that's interesting. I wonder how, I guess, is it her husband? Or just maybe the father of the child? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know if it's baby daddy or husband. Oh, well, in another article, because I read multiple sources while I'm going through this, it did say that she is a single mom. The baby daddy said that she's a single mom, and she learns from him, so he don't know what he's supposed to do about it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what he has to say about it, because historically, when you do have biracial children, specifically with black people, the majority of the time the child is just looked at as black anyway. So I'm just trying to understand what this woman who's white is trying to say.
It sounds like he was raised by the mother. At least he's with the mother now. Again, you can pull this article up to read the entire article. But yeah, so if you're raised with the white parent, wouldn't you take on that parent's identity more so? And again, it doesn't state in this snapshot here, but she also is quoted as saying that he looks Hawaiian, her son. So whatever that's supposed to mean, I guess.
He looks Hawaiian.
So, but the thing is, okay, if you're going to be procreating with black people, you're going to have black children.
Yep. Get used to it. All right.
What do we have coming up here next? Looks like monkeypox, likely in Sacramento County. Patient who recently traveled to Europe, health officials say. Sacramento, California. Sacramento County public health officials are investigating a likely cause of monkeypox virus related to travel in Europe, officials announced Tuesday morning. The patient still needs confirmation testing from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention and the California Department of Public Health. But officials say monkeypox confirmation is likely based on symptoms. The person is isolated at home, and officials said risk to the general public is extremely low. Monkeypox virus can be transmitted when a person comes into contact with an animal, human, or material contaminated with the virus. The virus can enter the body through the broken skin, respiratory tract, or mucous membranes, which include the eyes, mouth, and nose. Symptoms include fever, headache, muscle aches, backache, swollen lymph nodes, chills, and exhaustion. The patient can also develop a rash days later that often begins in the face and other parts of the body, and the illness can last anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, that monkeypox don't sound like it's nothing to play with. But monkeypox, when they were calling the coronavirus the China flu, that was seen as racism. They got hate bills and all type of stuff, but here we come with monkeypox. Sounds pretty racist to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're associating an animal with a human being, then yeah. Okay, so let's see, are we doing this one or?
That's next.
Okay. All right. So, Juneteenth. Walmart rolls out Juneteenth ice cream. Celebrations stirs outrage. Let's see. Well, here's the latest entry. Well, that's funny. Here's the latest entry to the Tone Deaf Marketing Hall of Fame. There really should be one by now. Walmart's Juneteenth ice cream is MOA. Melting on arrival, with critics as one might expect. As soon as the retail giant started putting the celebration edition on its freezer shelves, the Twitter mob sounded off, calling the idea garbage and worse. The pints contained swirled red velvet and cheesecake ice cream flavors and included the message, share and celebrate African American culture, emancipation, and enduring hope. Yes, all positives, but also exploitive for capitalism's sake? Question. That's the tone of the backlash against Walmart ahead of the new federal holiday. Juneteenth will mark the second year it's recognized, which commemorates the day the last enslaved Americans got the news President Lincoln had abolished slavery.
So that's pretty cringe, Sean.
Cringe-worthy.
All right, maybe a little bit of hopeful news here. Walmart pulls Juneteenth ice cream after backlash. We sincerely apologize. Walmart will remove its ice cream commemorating Juneteenth amid growing backlash. Photos of the product recently surfaced on social media. Juneteenth commemorates June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved Black people in Galveston, Texas, 2 months after the Confederacy had surrendered. It was about 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves in southern states. Last year, President Joe Biden signed a bill creating Juneteenth National Independence Day. Since June 19th fell on a Saturday, the government observed the holiday Friday. At least 9 states have designated it into law as an official paid state holiday. All but one of those states acting after George Floyd, a Black man, was killed last year in Minneapolis. All right. So reading that last line, all but one of those states, I'm like, okay, which state? Why can't they just say the state that already had Juneteenth enacted as a national holiday? So I had to do some further research, and it turns out that state is Galveston, Texas, which makes sense since that's where the transgression occurred. And then we have also a tweet here from a Kyle Hill that says, in all seriousness, if you have seen the Juneteenth ice cream from Walmart, go ahead and grab some Creamalicious red velvet cheesecake instead. Walmart could have used this opportunity to highlight this brand instead of making a cheap copycat of our Independence Day. But capitalists will capitalize. Let's support Chef Liz. And it looks like Chef Liz already has a ice cream brand, Creamalicious, that has that flavor. She calls it Right as Rain red velvet cheesecake, and it looks and sounds delicious.
Yep.
So go on over to the SoCreamalicious.com website and pick you up some orders of that. She also has some other interesting flavors. I think I saw a what is it? The not the pumpkin pie, but the one that's like pumpkin pie. Sweet potato. Sweet potato pie ice cream. So it looks like she has some interesting flavors and maybe a banana pudding or something like that. So support Chef Liz.
Definitely. Yeah, for those gotta check her out for those plant-based or vegan. Wonder if she has any on her menu. But if not, definitely go support if you're, definitely can intake dairy,
Yes,
That's
definitely.
good.
All right, so that is in the news.